You didn't imagine it. You really were trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Let's talk about the kind of grief no one ever warns you about. The grief of growing up with a parent who was physically there, but emotionally disconnected. Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm a psychotherapist who works with high-achieving adults who look like they have it all together, but behind the scenes, they're exhausted, anxious, and constantly overthinking. Today, we're talking about a concept that hits home for a lot of my clients, and honestly, it hit home for me too. Grieving the parent you didn't have. This is the kind of grief that doesn't show up in tears. It shows up in self-sabotage, in overachieving, in the part of you that's always bracing for disappointment, even when things are technically fine. So let's break this down together. This isn't about hating your parents or rehashing old stories to stay stuck in the past. It's about naming the loss of emotional connection you didn't even realize was missing. And when I say emotional connection, I mean the stuff that actually builds a foundation for self-worth, like feeling seen, soothed, supported, and safe. If you grew up with a parent who was emotionally unavailable or critical or consumed with work or completely overwhelmed by their own stuff, then chances are your needs weren't just unmet, they were unacknowledged. And that's the kind of loss I'm talking about. You didn't lose a person, you lost a version of the relationship you needed, and that still counts. So what does this look like when you're 30, 40, 50 years old? You struggle to rest without guilt. You say yes when you're already overloaded. You don't trust people to really show up for you, so you do everything yourself. You tie your worth to output, your achievements, your usefulness. Does this sound familiar? Here's why. As kids, our brains are constantly building templates, subconscious blueprints for how relationships work. If those early interactions taught you that love had to be earned or that being too emotional made you a problem, then your adult relationships reflect that. That's not just a mindset issue, that's conditioning. That's a pattern. That's your subconscious doing exactly what it learned to do. And the kicker, it works until it doesn't. Until you burn out, until you keep repeating the same relational patterns over and over, wondering why vulnerability feels like walking a tightrope. Let me tell you about one of my clients, a brilliant, thoughtful, self-aware woman who had done all the work. Therapy, journaling, books, podcasts. She could name her patterns like a pro. But one day in session, she looked at me and said, I think I'm grieving a parent I never actually had. She'd written in her journal the night before, I needed my mom to see me, to understand me. And that cracked something open. She realized she'd been focused on what happened in her childhood, the conflict, the criticism, but she'd never stopped to mourn what didn't happen. The moments of attunement, connection, and validation that never came. That's grief, not the dramatic kind, but the kind that changes how you see your entire story. Let's talk about the brain for a minute. Emotional experiences, especially repeated ones, don't just live in your memory. They live in your subconscious programming. And they dictate 80% of your reactions, your assumptions, and your expectations. So even if you've forgiven your parents or tried to understand their limitations, your internal wiring may still expect abandonment or criticism or rejection. This is why you can be wildly competent in your career and still struggle to receive affection without cringing, or why asking for help feels physically uncomfortable. Your subconscious still believes what your childhood taught it. Don't need too much. Don't rock the boat. Don't expect anyone to catch you. And that programming doesn't fade just because you've outgrown your childhood home. Grief isn't a one-time epiphany. It's a process. And for this kind of loss, it often starts quietly, with honesty. Here's what I encourage my clients to do when they're ready to face this. 1, name what you needed but didn't get. Emotional safety, encouragement, someone to notice when you were hurting. Write it all down, no filters. Number 2, stop minimizing. It wasn't that bad is often a coping strategy. You're allowed to tell the truth about your own story. This is your perception and your perception alone. Number 3, identify the rules you learned to follow. Be the best, keep the peace, don't be a burden, and ask yourself who benefits from that rule now. Number 4, let yourself feel it. Rage, sadness, even numbness, that's all valid. Grief is about making space for the parts of you that had to grow up too soon. Number 5, identify what you needed to hear back then. I love you just the way you are. You're doing a great job. I can see you're hurting and I'm here to support you. And number 6, repeat those phrases to yourself with compassion and visualize yourself saying them to the child you were back then. Get support. This isn't easy work, but it is possible, and you don't have to go it alone. This is the exact kind of process I walk you through in my book, Unpacked. If you've ever felt like you're carrying emotional baggage that isn't yours but still shapes your life, this book is for you. And if you're not sure where to start, my free energy audit is a quick way to track where you're overfunctioning in ways that keep you stuck. You can find both linked below. Grieving the parent you didn't have isn't about being dramatic. It's about being honest. You're not needy. You're not too much. You're a human being who adapted to less than ideal circumstances, but you did it really well. But now it's time to stop surviving and start healing. Thanks for being here. If this resonated, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it.